I had always considered myself a trusting husband, the kind of man who believed in the inherent goodness of the person I'd chosen to spend my life with. Melissa and I had built a life together, years of shared laughter, quiet evenings, and promises that I thought were unbreakable. But then the cracks started to show. It began with little things. Her phone buzzing late at night, her excuses for staying out growing flimsier, her eyes avoiding mine when she walked through the door. At first, I brushed it off as paranoia. I didn't want to be that guy, the jealous, suspicious spouse who sees betrayal in every shadow. But my gut wouldn't let it go. Her demeanor shifted too. She grew distant, cold, like a stranger wearing my wife's face. Something was wrong, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. One evening, after another late night she couldn't fully explain, I decided to confront her. My heart pounded as I sat her down in our living room, the familiar hum of the refrigerator filling the silence before I spoke. "Melissa," I said, keeping my voice steady, "I need to know what's going on. The late nights, the secrecy. I'm starting to think you're hiding something." I expected defensiveness, maybe even an argument. What I didn't expect was the way her face hardened, her eyes narrowing into slits of ice. Instead of addressing my concerns, she leaned forward, her voice low and venomous. "You're unstable, you know that? Imagining things, accusing me of betraying you. I could have you committed for this, locked away in a mental institution where you belong." Her words hit me like a punch to the chest. This wasn't just denial. It was a calculated strike, a threat meant to silence me, to make me doubt myself. I sat there, stunned, as she stood up and walked away, leaving me alone with the echo of her words. But in that moment, something shifted inside me. I realized this wasn't just an argument or a misunderstanding. This was manipulation, a power play to keep me under her thumb. She wanted control, and she thought she could scare me into submission. She was wrong. I decided then and there that I wouldn't let her win. I'd play along, let her think I was cowed, while I worked in the shadows to turn the tables. My anger hardened into resolve, and I started plotting my revenge, not out of spite, but out of survival. I couldn't let her get away with this. Couldn't let her dismantle my life while she carried on with hers. I had to be smart, methodical, and so I began. The first step was gathering evidence. I needed to know what I was up against, to confirm what my instincts were screaming at me. I started with her psychiatrist, the one she'd been seeing more often lately, always coming back from appointments with a smugness that didn't sit right. I dug into credentials, spending late nights on my laptop, scouring public records and online forums. What I found was damning. He wasn't just unqualified. His license had been suspended years ago for ethical violations, yet he was still practicing under the radar. I gathered everything, screenshots, old court documents, patient complaints, and saved it all to an encrypted folder on my computer. Exposing him would cut off Melissa's lifeline, the professional she relied on to bolster her lies. I smiled to myself as I closed the laptop that night, imagining her confusion when her appointments suddenly stopped. Next, I turned to the affair I suspected. I'd seen the signs. Her phone locked tighter than a vault. The way she'd smile at texts she wouldn't let me see. I didn't have her password, but I didn't need it. One evening, when she left her phone on the counter to take a shower, I grabbed my own device and mirrored her screen using a trick I'd found online. It took less than 5 minutes to catch a glimpse of the truth. Flirty messages, late-night plans, a name I didn't recognize but soon tracked down. His name was David, a married co-worker of hers. I followed them one night, my car parked discreetly across from a dimly lit restaurant, and snapped photos of them laughing, his hand on her arm. The proof was undeniable. I didn't confront her yet. Instead, I made an anonymous call to David's wife, my voice disguised with a cheap burner phone. "Check your husband's phone," I said simply, then hung up. I knew the chaos that would follow would hit Melissa too, a ripple effect she wouldn't see coming. While her personal life began to fray, I worked on her social circle. Our friends had always seen Melissa as charming, the life of the party, but I knew the truth behind her mask. I started subtly, dropping hints during casual conversations, mentioning her late nights, her evasiveness, letting them draw their own conclusions. Then I got bolder, sharing snippets of evidence. A text she'd sent me contradicting something she told them. A photo of her car parked somewhere she'd claimed not to be. I didn't need to say much. The pieces fit together for them. One by one, they started pulling away, their invitations drying up, their responses to her calls growing curt. I watched her frustration grow, the way she'd toss her phone down after another unanswered text, and I felt a quiet satisfaction knowing she was tasting isolation. Money was my next move. We'd always shared finances, but I'd handled most of the details, bills, savings, the mortgage. She'd never cared much, trusted me to keep it all running. That trust became my weapon. Over weeks, I meticulously shifted everything into her name. I called the bank, claiming she wanted more control, and transferred joint accounts to her alone. I rerouted bills, canceled my cards, and drained our savings into a new account she couldn't touch. It was risky, legally gray, even, but I was past caring about rules. The day her credit card got declined at her favorite coffee shop, I was there, pretending to scroll my phone at a nearby table. Her face flushed red as she fumbled for an excuse, and I hid my smirk behind my screen. She had no idea how deep the hole was yet, but she'd find out soon. With her support system crumbling, her psychiatrist exposed, her lover's marriage imploding, her friends gone, and her finances a mess, Melissa started to unravel. The confident, untouchable woman I'd married was slipping away, replaced by someone jittery, paranoid. She'd snap at me over nothing, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and fear, and I just gnawed, playing the meek husband she thought she'd broken. But I wasn't done. I wanted her to feel the full weight of her choices, to see her world collapse entirely. The final blow came with the divorce papers. I'd hired a lawyer quietly, using money from my new account, and had everything ready. One morning, as she sipped her coffee, I slid the papers across the kitchen table alongside a foreclosure notice I'd orchestrated by stopping payments on the house, now solely in her name. "Sign them," I said calmly, watching her eyes widen as she read. "And good luck with the bills." Her hand shook as she flipped through the pages, the reality sinking in. She was losing everything, our home, our marriage, her stability. She looked up at me, her mouth open in protest, but no words came. For the first time, she had nothing to say. I could have stopped there, but I didn't. Her job was the last pillar standing, the one place where she still held some pride. I compiled everything. Photos of her affair, records of her lies, even a detailed account of her threats against me, and emailed it anonymously to her HR department. The response was swift. A termination letter arrived within days, citing conduct unbecoming. Word spread fast in her small industry, and the public disgrace was brutal. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she'd tried to spin it, to play the victim, but no one was buying it anymore. The end came at a mutual friend's gathering, a small dinner I'd known she'd attend. I waited until the room was full, the chatter lively, before I spoke. "Melissa," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "remember when you threatened to have me committed? When you said I was crazy for doubting you?" Her face paled as heads turned. Funny how things turn out. I guess we all see who's unstable now. I laid it all out. Her affair, her lies, her downfall, watching her shrink under the weight of her own shame. No one defended her. No one even looked at her as she grabbed her coat and fled into the night. After that, she disappeared from my life. I heard rumors. She'd moved away, start over somewhere, but I didn't care enough to find out. I was free. The house was gone, sold off in foreclosure, but I'd rebuilt from scratch. I found a new place, a small apartment that felt like mine alone, and focused on myself for the first time in years. Eventually, I met someone new, Lila, a woman whose warmth and honesty reminded me what trust could feel like. We took it slow, building something real, and I found joy creeping back into my days. Looking back, I don't regret what I did. Melissa had tried to break me, to control me, and I'd fought back the only way I knew how. It wasn't pretty, and maybe it wasn't noble, but it was mine, a reclaiming of my life from the chaos she'd sown. Now, standing in the sunlight of a new beginning, I felt lighter than I had in years, finally untethered from past.